Now I fear a program that has been down in the dumps for the past 4 or 5 years is now going to be resurged by a guy in Mike Vick who I do believe is going to have a greater than Coach Prime effect at Norfolk State University for that Spartan program. And I'm not saying he's going to have a Heisman contender at NSU. By the way, Coach Prime didn't do that at Jackson State, but he did build some nice things and win a lot of games there. I'm not also saying that he's going to pump a lot of NFL talent out of Norfolk State. But the impact Mike Vick is going to have at that school, at that program, as a guy with as big of a name as he has, as much football experience as he has, plus the kicker for me, Mike Vick is from Hampton Roads area. He's from the 757. He is a living legend to people in and outside of sports all throughout the state of Virginia. After he played his high school ball in Hampton Roads, I believe Bethel High. I could be wrong. Hampton High or Bethel High. He then went to Virginia Tech, as we know, and balled the hell out before becoming a legend with the Falcons and then the Eagles in the NFL. Michael Vick, who also, I know that people are, there's some consternation. Oh, he doesn't have any coaching experience.
It feels important to be a coach, though, no?
It isn't. I'll tell you that right now. In college football, it is not important as a head coach. Right now, the way that thing stands with the transfer portal and the NIL, it is not important to have previous coaching experience as much as it is to have a blistering brand. It just matters more. I don't give a damn what Mike Vick is when it comes to X's and O's. Because I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to get the Jimmies and the Joes. He's going to get whatever talent, especially out of that area, but even beyond, that he needs to be able to attract to Norfolk State University, NSU, to the Spartans. He's going to be able to get them. And not only that, if he does it the right way, and from what I've been reading from the Daily Press and all of the reporting around out of the 757, if he builds a staff that has the proper coaching experience, you telling me that's going to fail? You telling me that that's not going to be a just glowing success? Not just with what he's able to do for that program, but for that area being who he is. It's the attention he draws. It's the football acumen that he's picked up from not just playing the game at the highest of the levels for so many years, but also, I mean, I didn't want to pull this card so early, but he took a little stint at the Chiefs Kingdom, C-Cat.
Yeah,
he took a little stint in Chiefs Kingdom.
An intern, I believe.
Did a coaching internship with Andy Reid with the Chiefs in 2017. He went to the top. He went to the mountaintop with the guy who is the best in the game right now in coaching in the NFL. He has those connections and relationships. He has the backing of that area. This is a can't-fail situation. And when it comes to what Coach Prime was able to do at Jackson State, they're eternally grateful, yes, even though there are a lot of people that didn't like his exit. Deion didn't do that for Jackson State. He didn't do that for HBCUs. All of that rhetoric was a lie. Deion Sanders did that for himself and his sons, and adopted son, Travis Hunter. He did that for them, to progress them, to uplift them, to build their brand, to give them the platform they needed to go off and get into the pros, and he did it well as he took his talents to Colorado 2 years later. But as loud as Deion was for those 2 years for Jackson State, and as much as he built that brand up, and people should be grateful for it. As loud as he was for Jackson State, Mike Vick is going to be proud of what he's able to accomplish, build, and grow at Norfolk State in Norfolk, Virginia, in his hometown of the 757 in the Hampton Roads, the 7 cities. Like, he's going to do more there than what Deion did at Jackson State because of how much he cares, because of how much pride he instills in those around him, as well as he ain't doing this for his kid. He ain't doing it. This ain't like, oh, my son is a quarterback, so let me go to a team and coach him so that I can put him in the best position. He's doing that for that program in that area. I, as a Hampton Pirate, am nervous. And I know y'all don't give a damn about the Battle of the Bay in Hampton versus Norfolk State, but what I'm telling you is this is real impact. This is real legacy. And I as a HBCU graduate, I see the vision here, and I know that Vick is going to do some elite things out there at Norfolk State. I'm nervous.
So you know more about this than me. What's the conference that Norfolk State plays in, and like who are they?
In the MEAC.
In the MEAC.
Norfolk State is in the MEAC, which is South Carolina State. By the way, Deion Sanders, as great as he was at Jackson State, still couldn't beat the MEAC. Shout out to South Carolina State. Whooped that ass in the Celebration Bowl when he had Travis Hunter and his son Shador. So, yeah, continue.
So my Vick's going to go to this smaller than the schools that you're going to see in bowl season right now from now on to the end of the year into in January.
Yeah.
Is he going to be taking these 4-star, 3-star talents that might instead go to a Power 4 school, bring them to Norfolk State, and make them an actual power there? Or is it more competitive than it sounds?
He can flip this in a year. If he is serious about recruiting, if he does build a real staff there, he can flip it in a year. It's hard to compete with the tops of the MEAC based on where Norfolk State has been as of late. But the Tidewater area, people will tell you, it's one of the more slept-on breeding grounds for elite high school football prospects. Between Virginia, D.C., Maryland, that whole area, it's ripe with good prospects, and it is competitive with some of the great areas you think of, like the Ohios and the Texases and the Floridas and the SoCals. He'll be able to not get the elite of the elite. Maybe he pulls one or two. He'll get enough of the next guys. Plus, I would assume, again, the coaching staff Vick is able to attract. The guys that would want to work with Mike Vick will be a lot bigger and greater than what Coach Odom was able to do before him. I just don't see this failing, and I do think with transfer portal and with NIL, he can create something quickly and maybe surpass South Carolina State, who was not able to beat Jackson State in the Celebration Bowl. Damn it. Screwed us up in punchline picks.
So the problem I have with it's not really a problem, but the skepticism that I come with this is that Deion did what Deion did, not because he was a great coach, like you mentioned, but because Deion had, 1, a massive name, and 2, he was a master motivator and a brand enhancer, and just a signal booster to anyone that was under his wing. We know Mike Vick has one of those two qualities. He has the big name. Everybody knows Mike Vick. For better or for worse, and as every year goes on, that Q rating goes up, up, and up in Mike Vick just because his kind of darker past that he did the time for is further and further in the past. The Q rating goes up. But we don't see Mike Vick standing on the soapbox and almost being the preacher that Deion is in a good way, in a very performative, and I don't use performative in a negative way, but he just is a star in that sense with Deion Sanders. We don't see that with Mike Vick. He's more of a quiet guy. He's not a superstar on his Fox coverage that we see him.
You're right.
And then another superstar coach that we just saw make the move has the big name, and we know is a good coach, but isn't that PR superstar, Bill Belichick.
Right. And the difference with that is, you're right. Number one, it's North Carolina. There's going to be more NIL dollars. There's going to be better facilities. Obviously, I don't have to say this out loud. Michael Vick ain't competing with North Carolina, right? NSU will never be on that level.
But also, when it comes to Norfolk State's not competing with Clemson and other ACC teams.
No, it's not happening, but they don't need to. This past year, they were 4-8. They've been bad for the past few years under the previous regime. You don't have to be competitive with them on the recruiting trails with the masses. All you need is a select few high-end talent players who would like to go and build something at an HBCU, who care about the area, who care about being coached by Michael Vick. You also, at that point, if you're Vick and that staff, need to be able to get some guys in there that can go coach guys up. That's one thing that's kind of slept on. You're right. Vick has no coaching experience, right? He's never coached a football team. He's played a lot of football. He's played for a lot of elite, legendary coaches throughout his career, from college on up. I don't doubt the acumen that he's picked up along the way. I don't doubt that this isn't a guy that won't do the proper prep to make sure that he's able to be competitive in this role. And we've seen it work. We've seen it fail. We've seen it be mediocre. There's other guys that have done this. Eddie Jackson's at Tennessee State, right? I said Eddie Jackson. Eddie George. Eddie George, former Tennessee Titans running back, is at Tennessee State, and he's building. And he's growing something. It hasn't been elite. You don't even think about that, right? Were you even aware of Eddie George being a head coach?
No.
Exactly. Sometimes it doesn't move needles. Everybody's not barking behind a microphone like Deion Sanders does, and everybody's not building that brand in the way that is so polarizing like Deion does. But what Vick means to that area is different than what any of these other guys have meant to programs, even for that short stint. Like, there's two people in the state of Virginia where if you say their name and you attach their name to something, everything else stops. Everything else just goes silent immediately, especially in the 757, especially in Hampton Roads. Michael Vick, Allen Iverson.